climate wisdom from COP30 Belém.
Welcome to tonight's Climate Wisdom live stream directly from Belém in Brazil. Here in our studio, we bring together policymakers, civil society leaders, we bring together delegates from faith and from science. And the aim is to care, to share, and to inspire. And this COP, we are now on the second day, is known as the implementation COP. We have to bring all the talks and negotiations into action. And for that purpose, the Brazilian presidency have launched a new concept for us, or a new word for us, called mutirão. It's Portuguese for working together in a collective spirit. And working together is needed if we are going to do real action. And therefore, tonight's topic is very relevant. It's conscious leadership, guiding change with compassion. And we have a youth delegate with us here in the first part of the studio. And youth is known for working together in a collective spirit. So I'm very curious to hear what the youth leader has to say. We also have a leader from the spiritual area. So a warm welcome to both of our distinguished guests this evening. Isadora Canela, a visual artist here from Brazil, and Maureen Goodman, program director from the UK, Brahma Kumaris UK. So a warm welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I will start with a question to you, Isadora, and give you an introduction. You're a Brazilian visual artist, and you're a filmmaker and researcher from the mining region of Minas Gerais. I might not pronounce it correctly. I've practiced, but it's not that easy. And in 2023, you co-founded Collective Webs, and you're working to connect art and education for socio-environmental impact. And I read about you, and it's a long description here. I'd like you to share with our audience what it is actually is. It says it's grounded in the co-creation of laboratories for storytelling as a radical imagination. What is that actually?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for being here. It's an honor to be with both of you, especially in Belém. Being a Brazilian person, I hope you feel very welcomed in this land, in this territory. It is really vivid, really special, and hosts the spiritual power of a forest to guide us towards a living future. So I'm really glad. And yeah, I mean, it's a long and beautiful word in the description. But for me, when I think about stories, it goes back to the first human technology. It's how we make sense of the world. It's how we connect the mind, the hearts, and the hands to make sure that we live in society, that we organize and relate to the environment and to one another. So if we think about the stories that we have to tell for a different future, what are them? We first have to imagine these new stories. So how do we tell the stories that we want to live in? Because for me, it really starts with the imagination. And the imagination for me is extremely connected to the spirituality, because we have to then stay in silence to let the imagination to flourish, as much as we have to stay in silence to let the heart to speak. So for me, the concept of laboratories for radical imagination is an invitation for us to come together and create the stories that we want to see transforming realities.
So what's your favorite story?
Oh, well, I'm gonna tell one of today that we went for lunch, and there was this sumalma tree. It's the biggest tree of Amazon, and this tree, it's, I don't know, I would guess around 300, 400 years. And then the guy João, he started telling us how many stories of his family that these three experienced together and how much they shared. And then he told me how, his family went to this place and it was located because of this tree. And I found so beautiful the possibility of intergenerational relationship at the same time with interbeing relationship. So I would get the Suma Uma story of a big, long, and vivid.
Thank you, relationship. Yeah. And I've seen some amazing trees here. I mean, we've only been in the city so far, but still here there's some amazing. Heard a lot. So Maureen, you are the program director for Brahma Kumaris in the UK, and you're also Brahma Kumaris UN representative in Vienna. You work long with interfaith and also environment. But when we listen to Isadora, we can feel the spirit of youth, isn't it, and the enthusiasm. So, what would be your advice on leadership to the younger generation?
Thank you for having me here. And when I'm with people like you, I feel young as well. But when I look back, over my own development, I think the first foundation for leadership, which I would share, would be being able to lead yourself. Being able to understand what are your own hopes and dreams inside, what really motivates you, what are our values, what is my conscience telling me. And so first, that self-leadership is crucial, because leadership is not about controlling anybody or about, imposing a particular will. It's really about empowerment. And I know for myself, whenever I'd been asked to do something or offered an opportunity, even though I felt, this is outside of my experience, I'm not sure what to do, but I've always said yes, because I've said to myself that if I don't say yes, I miss a huge opportunity for learning. And sometimes you get it all wrong, but it's okay. Actually, there's no right and wrong. It's about learning. And so I think that's most important advice, that, if I can give advice, but just experience, that we are here to learn, and it's a life of learning. And the more we learn and the more we grow, I find that the more we're able, I found for myself, I'm able to be more comfortable with myself. And then that allows the natural love and good feelings to flow. So, leadership is about knowing yourself, leading yourself, and it's about relationship. Yeah.
And about saying yes.
And about saying yes, and about pushing out your boundaries. It's scary at times, but you got to do it.
You've got to do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. This means a lot. I will take this for life. It's really
It's beautiful.
inspiring to hear from you.
Yeah, well, it's my own experience, basically.
Both of you will be together again in another program.
That's
That
right.
is this coming Friday. And there is a youth leader workshop called The Ownership of Illusion. And you will explore the subtle links between mining, extraction, and egocentric living. Would you like to share with us what your workshop will be about?
Yeah.
What is the link between mining and egocentric living?
Well, this was a beautiful process. It's beyond the workshop in itself. It was a connection between different leaders, young leaders, connected through Brahma Kumaris. That was really inspiring to see how the bond was created during the last months. We were meeting to discuss and think together what we would like to present. I come myself from a mined region. That is a place that you can see the violence that's of a system that is extremely egocentric. And when I hear you, for me, it's super important because it touches the difference between the self and the selfishness. And I think this is a very it's a very important yeah, way of a different way of looking to the world that places different realities and values outside. And we started then the exhibition at Mabi, that is the place that will host the workshop, is about mining and proposing regeneration and other ways of exchanging and living. So we started, I'm saying this this whole process because it was really collective. It's not about me, I'm just a voice representing a big and beautiful group. But we started with the notions of mine. If you think about mine as a territory that is exploited, how is it inside? What are we doing with ourselves inside? If we are mining ourselves, if we are understanding ourselves as ownership, as if we would own the land. Yeah. For me, it's the opposite. The land owns us. It's a mutual relationship. So this whole workshop is an invitation for youth to come together and think of how can we honor the self and who we are and be true to our values or dreams, at the same time collaborate and establish a collectiveness. I honestly believe that when we are, as you say, when you go for leading yourself, it's way more likely that you won't be competitive with others.
Absolutely, yeah.
So this is the idea of linking the mining both as a physical issue that we are experiencing with climate change and so much issues with communities and people, but also metaphorically on how can we change this illusion that we own something to move towards something that we share.
Interesting. I hope I can come and be part of it, even though I'm not a young leader and we're going up.
This is an illusion, no? Age is a story that they tell us.
That's true. That's true.
So Maureen, you will be the spiritual resource person in this workshop. Anything you like to add on the concept of mining and ownership and illusion? But also on top of that, what is your hopes and expectations for this coming COP? Yeah, shortly. Yeah. What's your story?
Well, I was just thinking, that mining is so much about greed and about wealth. And the more we, human beings become obsessed with accumulating more and more, you actually then separate yourself from the spiritual wealth that you have inside, because everything becomes external, and it's the external acquisition that gives you your sense of self or validates you. And so we become very dependent on praise, dependent on looking good, whatever it is. But the spiritual wealth is really where it is. And I find that when we develop that spiritual wealth inside, which means peace, which means love, which means wisdom, then really we're able to serve, and the ego calms down. So you're right, it's not about selfishness. And it's an illusion to think we can own anything. Who can own God's creation? It just doesn't make sense. And of course, the work that you're doing is really highlighting the situation of ordinary people who have to work in these mines, and they're serving those powers that create more wealth, that create more environmental issues. They're not benefiting, or they're benefiting very little because they're probably not paid very much, and their lifestyle is very meager, and yet it's increasing the wealth of people who have that exploitative mindset. And I think one of the hopes I have for this COP is that the politicians and the negotiators can make the connection between the policies that they're talking about or they're negotiating about, and of course still nobody is having the courage to say we phase out fossil fuels, for example, and many other examples, to make the connection between those policies and the people on the ground, because at the moment there's a big gap. Policies are made in an ivory tower to do with politics and finance and so on, and yet real people are not being taken into consideration, and so that's really my hope, that bridge, that gap can be bridged in some way. And it's not about people just protesting and screaming to get a voice, but being heard with respect. And so that's my hope, it really is.
To be heard with respect.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. To be listened to.
To be listened to, yeah. What's your expectations and hopes for the conference? But not only that, because in the youth you have the whole future in front of you. So what's your dream really coming out of this COP?
Well, I think I couldn't say it more beautifully. Coming from a mined region, a very tiny community that is really under threatened climate change and environmental collapse threatened. This is my daily life, and of course, I'm in a very privileged position comparing to other people when we see these power dynamics everywhere. Or in relation to mining, I feel that this COP is really focusing, which is very much needed, on the transition towards leaving the fossil fuels, at the same time keeping the same mindset. And for me, this is something that we really have to shift, even for bridging the gaps between the people on the ground and the policies. For me, how is it possible that this gap exists? It's a mindset, it's a story that one is given more power, but these are the people that hold the solution. These are the people that knows where the source of water comes from, what is this plant is good for in the medicine, in the indigenous medicine. So these are also the people, we are people that should be part of the policies, because the policies are about us and from us. So yeah, this definitely I share this hope. At the same time, I hope this is a moment that we can connect to different people. I think this COP in Belém, it's a forest. We are in Amazon forest that is 10 million species interconnected, co-creating every day the future that we are talking about. And for me, if the agreements fail and keep failing, my hope lies here in the connections and in the moments that the heart breathes, that we feel that we are not alone. Because sometimes it feels very isolated. We are in our own communities, struggling to get solutions, but then we see people coming together and organizing to face both mitigation and adaptation, to face these future challenges that are here. I think this is my hope and my wish for now and for the future, that we hold hands and hearts and do it together.
Oh, how beautiful.
It's beautiful. You know, I was going to say, there was, I was at the Biodiversity COP last year in Colombia, and there was a breakthrough in that Indigenous people and local communities became an official subsidiary body, which of course meant that the governments have to listen and consult, and you know, it was a South American country, and I remember and of course there's huge biodiversity in Colombia too, and I always remember the president speaking and saying, "Colombia's the heart of the world. I'm the president of the heart of the world," and he said it with so much feeling. And I was thinking here, who's the president of the lungs of the planet, you know? and it's sort of those sorts of, the way you express those things connects you really with where we are. And so I think there's a huge significance of being here in this country, and nature is calling us and speaking to us.
Yes.
Yes. I remember a story. I was in a conference in Nairobi, a UNEP conference, and we had a program in the university, and there was a farmer there, and he said, this is now 10, 15 years ago, and he said, you educated people. You used to consider us farmers a bit stupid. You left the land and you went into the city and you got educated. And look, now you're destroying the planet. And now you're coming back to us asking for our indigenous knowledge.
Exactly.
So who is stupid?
Exactly. And yeah, what can you say? I mean, it was also, again, in Colombia, where the president was saying, you know, you want to give countries like ours loans because you say that we are a risk. We're not the risk. It's you rich countries that are the risk. And, you know, everything has to get turned on its head now.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to name what has to be.
We have to name what's happening.
Yes.
So maybe
With love, with love.
It's a lot of love. The words cannot come with as weapons. I think the words has to come as stories for love to flourish. That when I think of the forest and I think of the Bardens, the indigenous people that co-creates this forest, what can we learn from them to make the policies? When you look to a tree, the sumalma tree today, there's so many beings in it, so many ants coming together, so many tiny fungi growing together. How do we make policies that respond with love to what has to be faced?
So what we can do is that we can together with our, us in here and with our listeners, we can send good wishes and do a meditation for the earth and for all living species. And we can ask Maureen to guide the meditation for us. Shall we do? And generate the best good wishes we can.
Yes. So let us reflect on the connectivity of all living beings. To think that we are separate is an illusion. Whatever thought I have has an impact not only on me, but on the atmosphere around me and on the world as a whole. Do I recognize how precious, how important are my own thoughts and words and actions? Can I become a leader of myself so those thoughts and words and actions are filled with wisdom, compassion, and love? So now, with our thoughts, let us emerge the transformative power of love and allow those vibrations of love to reach out into the atmosphere, to transform, to replenish, to regenerate. Let us together return to a flourishing world. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much. And a big thank to go for you for a very inspiring and meaningful conversation.
Thank you.
And thank to all the listeners for being with us, and a special thanks to all the volunteers behind the scene making this studio live stream possible. And please stay with us. In a few minutes, we will have part 2 of conscious leadership for guiding change. And in the meantime, we will play a small video about renewable energy. Today we had a program in the Solar Hub in COP, so it is very relevant to this evening. So good evening from the Amazons, and please stay with us and see you soon.